If there's anything that will make you sound guilty of something, it's talking about the fact that you're sure you could pardon yourself. And that's the latest in this sort of growing comedy of errors that is the Donald Trump presidency. We learned over the weekend that Donald Trump has been talking more and more with his lawyers about who he could pardon. Could he pardon himself, his children, his associates? And as usual, defenders of Trump called the reports about this fake news. Trump aides denied it. And then Donald Trump started tweeting about pardons himself. Yet another instance where Trump de facto confirms the stories that are being called fake news by his defenders and aides. Donald Trump took to Twitter to talk about pardoning, and he says he has all the power when it comes to pardoning, tweeting over the weekend, while all agree the U.S. president has the complete power to pardon. Why think of that when only crime so far is leaks against us? Fake news. Now, the simple explanation of this is he was just commenting for a friend. He just meant, yeah, he could pardon, but these are not questions for anything he's thinking about doing. It's stuff he's thinking about doing for friends. Why think of pardons, he says? Well, clearly he's thinking about them since he's tweeting about pardons at 7 a.m. in the morning on a weekend. When you start talking about pardons, you don't exactly project innocence. And the timing seems to be related to Robert Mueller now expanding the investigation into Donald Trump's personal finances and business dealings. Trump issued this sort of red line statement last week during his interview with the New York Times, where he was asked, if Mueller starts looking into your personal business finances, blah, 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 would that cross a red line? And Trump said, yeah, I think it would. And that seems to have struck a nerve with Donald Trump and panicked him, because that's exactly what Robert Mueller is looking into right now. And not only is Donald Trump talking about pardons, Trump's team, Pat, is now looking into how they might undermine Robert Mueller and cast doubt about his credibility. Again, if you've done nothing wrong, you publicly cooperate with investigations so that they'll end and you can move on. When you start doing opposition research on a prosecutor, things are not going well for you.
I don't think that it's too big of a surprise that he's talking about pardons and maybe even firing the special prosecutor, given the fact that he's fired the previous guy investigating him. And also, if you look at the timing of all of this, I mean, this week, his son, his son-in-law, his former campaign manager are all scheduled to testify to Congress. I mean, you'd have to imagine that damning information could come out of that he would need to pardon them for.
No doubt about it. And the bigger picture that's being painted here is pretty obvious. And asked about pardons, the White House didn't rule out that the president was considering pardons in the Russia investigation. Here is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the new, and we'll talk about this later as well, White House press secretary, right? I believe
Yes.
She was named replacing Sean Spicer. Take a listen to this.
Can you clarify where the president stands on the issue of pardons? Is he considering pardons for figures in the Russia investigation? And does the president believe that he has the power to pardon himself?
Look, I refer you to the comments that have already been made by the outside counsel in terms of their actions. The president maintains pardon powers like any president would, but there are no announcements or planned announcements on that front whatsoever.
Does that include power to pardon himself? Does he believe that he has the power to pardon himself?
Like I said, I don't have anything to add beyond what the outside counsel has already stated on that.
6 months in, folks, this is where we are. And in case you care about the specifics, it's not actually clear if the president can pardon himself. It's what we might describe as untested legal waters. And I'm not going to dive in more deeply to that. There's a lot that's been written about whether the president could pardon themselves. For me, the story right now is not about whether Trump could pardon himself. He can't pardon himself from impeachment, and that is a very specific knowledge that we have. The real issue is, if you believe yourself and your associates to be innocent, you don't go on social media and proclaim that you can pardon people. That is what's called panic. And if Donald Trump and his associates are innocent, they're the biggest fools on the planet at this point, Pat, because innocent people constantly lying about meetings with Russia, stupidly hiding so many different contacts. If they didn't do anything wrong, then all of this lying and obfuscation makes no sense at all.
And take a good look at that response by Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the new White House press secretary, because even though she's a lot more tailored and on point than Sean Spicer ever was, we're certainly going to get a lot less information out of her.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And that also is something I want to talk about what we can expect with Anthony Scaramucci directing White House Communications, which was more of the major news over the weekend. The video you just finished watching was made possible by you through the membership program. You can sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. We are viewer-supported independent media. You can use the coupon code IVoted17 for a 40% discount off of your membership.